The mystery of Angkor Wat. Who truly built Southeast Asia's greatest wonder? For centuries, humankind has lifted its gaze to the sky, seeking answers to cosmic mysteries. Yet perhaps some answers have always been right beneath our feet, carved deep into stone, encoded in architecture, buried within jungle and time. And in that long night of history, there is a place that still whispers, not with words but with structure, with lines, with things that defy explanation. That place lies not in the Middle East, not in the libraries of the West, not beneath Siberia's ice. It lies here in Southeast Asia, amid the canopies of Cambodia's forests, just a few hours from Vietnam's border. Angkor Wat. Most of us know the name as a tourist destination, a monument in history textbooks, a symbol on Cambodia's national flag. But what if I told you? Angkor Wat is not a temple, but a machine, a colossal cipher, a transmitter and receiver of ancient knowledge that once pulsed at the Earth's core. What if I told you, beneath those stones lie astronomical messages beyond the capabilities of 12th century humanity? What if I told you, the true masters of Angkor Wat may not have been the Khmer? What would you do with the beliefs you've carried? At World of Ancient Mysteries, we don't recount history as it was written, we tell it as it may have been hidden. On today's journey, you will witness things modern science still cannot fully explain. You will pass through layers of architecture, layers of theory, and the hairline cracks of truth. And who knows, by the end of this path, you may not be the same person who began it. Welcome to World of Ancient Mysteries, where the past never sleeps, and the future can be glimpsed through the eyes of the ancients. Part 1. A time-defying architecture beyond the limits of the 12th century. Imagine standing before the western gate of Angkor Wat, under the blazing noon sun of Cambodia's tropical forest. No car horns, no sounds of the modern world, only a long road paved with moss-covered laterite, encircled by deep moats, trees, and naga serpent heads worn smooth by time. In that moment, you wouldn't think tourist site, but another world. A world in which people long ago somehow raised an architecture so vast it feels impossible. Angkor Wat is not merely a temple. It is a surreal complex, a stone-born model of the cosmos, a colossal quantum machine programmed with spirituality, astronomy, and sacred logic that we, here in the 21st century, still cannot fully decode. Let's start with the numbers. Angkor Wat spans more than 1,600,000 square meters, over 300 FIFA soccer fields, or more than 3 times the area of the Vatican, the world's smallest yet emblematic state. Surrounding the entire complex is a man-made moat 3.6 kilometers long, 190 meters wide, and 5 meters deep, dug by hand, which means that before a single stone was set, the ancients had already completed this monumental hydraulic work, something that would take even modern excavators and GPS months to finish. The main gate faces west, unlike most Hindu temples that face east, prompting a persistent question: why this reversal? Some scholars say Angkor Wat venerates Vishnu, Lord of Time and the universe, who tends to face west, symbolizing the reverse flow of time. Others propose that Angkor's westward orientation synchronizes with the setting sun on the equinox, conveying an astronomical message. Step through the gate, and the first thing you see is not the sanctuary, but a perfectly straight stone causeway, over 475 meters long, leading to the central shrine. The paving slabs are so large that each may weigh more than half a ton, laid in true alignment with hairline joints. Astonishingly, this road hasn't sunk or shifted in more than 800 years, despite storms, monsoons, wars, earthquakes, and changes in regional hydrology. Such endurance could only happen if the builders had exceptional knowledge of foundations, load-bearing, and weight distribution, the very principles modern structural engineers use for works like Hoover Dam or skyscrapers in Dubai. The central temple is divided into 3 levels, 3 realms, 3 dimensions. The lowest symbolizes the human world of living, endurance, and suffering. The second is the realm of the gods, representing the soul's ascent. And the third, highest of all, is heaven, the abode of metaphysical beings, deities, and souls who have reached the supreme state. The central tower, nearly 65 meters tall, is equivalent to a modern 20-story building. It was built entirely of stone with no concrete columns, no steel reinforcement, no mortar. And most importantly, it has not collapsed. How did people without cranes, without welding, without 3D CAD, raise a 65-meter stone mass that has stood firm for 900 years? No one can answer definitively. But the more you study it, the more you realize. Angkor Wat was not merely constructed, it was calculated. Walls and pillars appear arranged according to the golden ratio. Ratios between corridors, the main axis, and the distances from the towers to the center can be expressed in perfect numbers of classical geometry. Each bas-relief was not carved at random. It responds to the rotational axes of the corridors. Stand at a precise point, and at a certain season the sunlight will strike a carving exactly, as if an invisible hand orchestrated the entire universe of stone. There are more than 3,000 Apsara carvings, the mythic dancers of Hinduism, across the walls. Remarkably, no two are alike. Each has a distinct hairstyle, smile, hand posture, and gaze. Some scholars suspect these might be geometric ciphers modeling celestial motion, not mere decoration. The stairways to the highest tier are close to 45 degrees, not meant for ordinary visitors. This is not a design flaw. It is a rite of testing faith. Only those with unwavering devotion and steady will can ascend without falling, recalling the arduous pilgrimages of ancient faiths. There is a special detail few notice. In certain rooms deep within the third tier, believed to be the energy center of the entire complex, people hear strange acoustics. Stand in the middle, and your voice or a clap echoes like distant drums rising from the earth. It's not a typical echo. It's as if the chamber were designed to resonate at specific frequencies, like an acoustic resonator, something we usually see today only in physics laboratories. This has led some researchers to believe that Angkor Wat may once have been a spiritual resonance device, a place where humans could connect with high-frequency fields, enter deep meditation, or even open other doors of perception. Could this have been used to activate an ancient form of energy, similar to what some believe the Giza pyramids once did? And if so, who left such technology to humankind? By now, you may see it clearly. Angkor Wat is not the work of a single dynasty. It is the work of a cosmic intellect. It was built not only with stone, but with faith, knowledge, astronomy, mathematics, physics, and mysticism. It does not merely worship the gods. It is a map of the universe. And those who created it were certainly more than artisans living 900 years ago. Part 2, the true makers. A Khmer king, extraterrestrials, or a prehistoric civilization? We have just admired a monument that surpasses every technical standard, but a larger question remains. Who built Angkor Wat? History records. King Suryavarman VI, ruler of the Khmer Empire from 1113 to around 1150, as the initiator and director of Angkor Wat's construction. Yet in reality, his name appears too little, too faintly, leaving too few marks for someone credited with one of the greatest works on Earth. Why is that? Across the entire complex, there is only a small bas-relief depicting the king riding an elephant beside a column of soldiers. No palace, no lavish mausoleum, no personal shrines, no inscriptions of credit like those left by the pharaohs or Chinese emperors. If he truly mobilized the entire Khmer populace, designing, organizing, operating, and building this project, where is his personal imprint? Moreover, the sculptural style of structures after Suryavarman II shows a marked decline in technique. Compare the Vishnu and Apsara figures in Angkor Wat. Smooth, exquisite, proportionate, with harmonious faces, with the Buddha and deity statues under Jayavarman VII, who ruled some 50 to 100 years later. The later works are rougher, more coarse, poorly proportioned, misaligned, and sometimes even joined with sloppy stone seams. This raises a serious question. Why would carving and building skills deteriorate so abruptly in just a few decades? A technical civilization typically takes centuries to evolve and centuries to fade. At Angkor, the process happens far too quickly, as if a knowledge system was severed, a summit that dropped without a transitional slope. Suppose Angkor Wat truly began in 1113 and was completed in 37 years. That would mean thousands of people had to quarry, transport, and install hundreds of tons of stone every day, without machinery, engines, or modern wheels. Some modern researchers, like Indian investigator Praveen Mohan, have run trial calculations. If 5 to 10 million cubic meters of sandstone were needed, and if each work team could finish one block every 17 hours, more than a day per block, then the total manpower sustained over 35 years would be unfeasible, even with hydraulic aids. Even if we accept the 32-kilometer canal system discovered by a Japanese archaeological team as an efficient transport route, the equation of time, mass, precision, fine carving still cannot be solved by people of the 12th century. And here, the hypotheses begin. Hypothesis 1. The ancient Khmer merely inherited it. It is quite possible that by the 12th century, Angkor Wat already existed in a basic form, which the Khmer found, restored, and expanded into a religious political center. This would explain the faint personal imprint and why craftsmanship declined after the 13th century. Hypothesis 2. Angkor Wat is the product of a prehistoric civilization. Over recent decades, archaeologists have gradually considered a major assumption that one or more advanced civilizations may have existed 10,000 to 20,000 years ago. Monuments such as Giza, Egypt, Göbekli Tepe, Turkey, Mohenjo-Daro, Pakistan, the Nazca Lines, Peru, Easter Island, Chile, and Yonaguni, Japan, share similar signs: outsized scale, architecture ahead of its era, scant tool traces, or indicators of ancient astronomical and mathematical knowledge. Angkor Wat could belong on this list. Hypothesis 3. Intervention by extraterrestrial intelligence. Often dismissed by mainstream academia as conspiracy theory, this hypothesis nonetheless explains many things science cannot yet. Features linking Angkor Wat to this idea include connections to ley lines, a system of ancient energy meridians encircling the Earth, thought to mark energy intersections. Acoustic properties like resonant chambers, akin to standing wave technology in modern physics. Modeling of the solar system, telescope-like motifs, and an apparent understanding of planetary positions beyond naked eye observation. As Carl Sagan said, if the universe contains billions of stars and no other life, that would be the strange thing. If those who came from the sky ever visited Earth, Angkor Wat might be a mark they left. Part 3. Impossible traces. Knowledge beyond history's limits. Angkor Wat bears many layers: spiritual, religious, architectural, technical. But there is one layer not everyone is ready to face. Mysteries that should not exist if judged only by 12th century knowledge. Here we stop speaking of stone, towers, forms, or height. We begin to speak of knowledge. And the big question is, where did it come from? 1. The telescope carving, 400 years before the official invention ban. On a wall at Angkor Wat, at the northern Vishnu shrine on the second tier, researcher Praveen Mohan identified a striking carving: a deity holding a long cylindrical tube to the eye, gazing into the distance. The posture, context, and depiction match a telescope, officially invented by Hans Lippershey in 1608 in the Netherlands. The issue: this carving dates at least to the 12th century, 400 to 500 years earlier. If it were merely a religious symbol, why show such a specific observing posture, uncommon in Hindu sculpture of that era? Where did 12th century Khmers get the idea? Had they seen such a device? Or were they taught a technology they did not fully grasp? More curious still, at another Indian temple, Osiliswara, a similar carving shows a deity pointing a long tube at the sky. Two temples nearly 4,000 kilometers apart, built in the same century, similar in style, and both depicting a device humanity supposedly didn't know. That is no longer coincidence, it is a pattern. 2. A complete solar system model, even planets invisible to the naked eye. In some upper areas of Angkor Wat, carvings depict a sun deity at the center, surrounded by 9 concentric circles, each a smaller entity, with hands joined in veneration. Many scholars interpret these as lesser gods worshipping Surya, yet the arrangement eerily resembles a heliocentric solar system, the sun at the center with 9 bodies orbiting. Call it coincidence, but remember, Pluto was discovered in 1930, Neptune in 1846, both invisible to the naked eye. How did 12th century Khmers know there were 9 orbiting entities? Is this lost astronomy, or evidence of a global ancient knowledge encoded in temple symbolism? 3. The 4-tusked elephant, a species extinct 2 million years ago. Another puzzling relief in the southern gallery shows an elephant with 4 tusks. It may seem fanciful until paleontologists confirm that a 4-tusked elephant, Stegodon tetrabelodon, did once exist, but went extinct over 2 million years ago. A fossil skeleton in Indonesia's National Museum matches the Angkor carving. With no archaeology in the 12th century, how could the Khmer rediscover a creature extinct for millions of years? The remaining question: who saw it and passed its image down? 4. Complex geometry and an encoded celestial map. From satellite imagery, Angkor Wat forms a concentric lotus, a cosmic Hindu symbol. More strikingly, the main towers align in fractal-like arrangements, akin to ideas in modern mathematics. The temple's main axis tilts exactly 72 degrees from true north-south, the number of years per degree in Earth's precessional cycle, a 25,920-year great year. This suggests not only astronomical knowledge, but the quantification of time on a millennial scale. Could such insight come from a Southeast Asian culture 900 years ago? Or is this an encoded knowledge system carved into stone to preserve it for future ages? These are not mere oddities. They are counter-evidence, pushing us beyond linear thinking. They hint that our model, invention, progress, accumulation, may hold only within a single cycle. Perhaps Angkor Wat is a fragment from a prior cycle, when humans, or another earthly species, achieved understanding far beyond ours today. Do we have the courage to consider that? Tash Part 4, Ley Lines, Earth's Meridians, and a Global Civilization Network. Have you heard of ley lines? Not footpaths, not military roads, not ancient trade routes, but curious straight alignments linking ancient sites worldwide, with precision sharp enough to make modern GPS take notice. In 1921, British antiquarian Alfred Watkins proposed ley lines after observing that many churches, ancient sites, sacred hills, and standing stones in England lined up exactly along straight paths. Initially dismissed as a local coincidence, the idea grew uncanny when global maps were compared with satellite data. There appears to be a line stretching from Easter Island through the Egyptian pyramids, the Nazca lines in Peru, the Angkor complex, Stonehenge in England, and Uluru in Australia, lying almost perfectly on a single great circle around the Earth. Scholars call it the Great Circle Alignment, or the Mystic Belt. On that belt, Angkor Wat is a critical node. Angkor Wat at an energy point, an Earth chakra. Ancient Eastern geomancies claim Earth, like the human body, has energy veins. The Chinese call them dragon veins. Indians, prana lines. Westerners, ley lines. They form a vascular network, conveying energy and linking heaven and earth. If this were mere legend, why are countless colossal ancient structures placed precisely at the intersections of this network? The Giza pyramids sit at the crossing of two major leys. Easter Island's Moai face west toward the setting sun, on a line intersecting Mesoamerican sites. The Nazca Plateau, with geoglyphs visible only from above, lies directly on a line running to Angkor Wat. If this is coincidence, it happens too often, and only among ancient wonders we cannot fully explain. A global network, ancient intelligence beyond cultural borders. Curiously, civilizations with no recorded contact, the Khmer, Egyptians, Sumerians, and ancient Peruvians, share striking traits, building massive stoneworks without mortar, orienting monuments to celestial events, sunrise, sunset, lunar cycles, carving planets and sky deities. Above all, building on geographic energy points, where leys intersect. This has led researchers to ask, did a global ancient civilization once exist? Not in our textbooks, not modern but prehistoric, perhaps pre-continental, with sites like Angkor Wat serving as knowledge beacons placed on Earth to transmit a message into the future. Some call them Atlanteans, others Anunnaki, others still visitors from the stars who seeded knowledge. Call them what you will, their traces remain. Angkor Wat, an astronomical alignment more exact than GPS. In 2020, a team from Oxford used digital mapping to measure Angkor's main axis. The result? A tilt of 72 degrees from the geographic north-south line. Why does this matter? In ancient astronomy, 72 years equals 1 degree of Earth's precession within the 25,920-year Great Year, a cycle known to the Egyptians, Babylonians, and Maya. It is not observable within a single lifetime. It emerges only across centuries and millennia. If the Khmer, or Angkor's true builders, tuned the temple to 72, they understood celestial motion and more. They encoded time into stone. They did not merely build a temple. They left an eternal signal. If Earth is an energy motherboard, then Angkor Wat is one of its central chips. On a motherboard are processor chips, capacitors, contacts, and traces. Imagine Earth as a vast biocircuit. Monuments like Giza, Angkor, Stonehenge, Nazca, and Tiwanaku are the processors. They receive, emit, and resonate energy. Not electricity, but consciousness, magnetism, intellect. That is why ancient builders chose inconvenient places, deserts, jungles, isolation, for their titans. Those places were chosen not for living, but for connecting. Within that network, Angkor Wat is not just a temple, it is a hub, a link, a message. We may have ignored that message for nearly a millennium, but perhaps it is time to listen again. Part 5, Angkor Wat and the Pre-Industrial City, the truth hidden beneath the ancient jungle. If Angkor Wat is a jewel, it does not sit alone in the rainforest. It is set into a crown larger than modern Cambodia itself. And what few people know is this. What we call Angkor Wat is only the visible tip of a lost civilization. A stunning revelation. Angkor Wat is merely the center of a megacity up to 3,000 kilometers. In 2007, an international team of archaeologists, working with the University of Sydney, Australia, the University of Tokyo, Japan, and the French Mapping Agency, announced a groundbreaking discovery. Beneath Cambodia's jungle canopy, hidden under seemingly meaningless foliage, lies a pre-industrial city spanning 1,000 to 3,000 kilometers. Using aerial LiDAR scanning, they uncovered systems of canals, dams, reservoirs, and water channels stretching hundreds of kilometers. Axial roadways, plazas, residential grids, and subsidiary temples, entirely concealed by the forest. An urban infrastructure network, complex and extensive, rivaling modern cities in scope. In other words, Angkor Wat is not merely a temple, but the heart of a great metropolis, an ancient megacity. And that city ran on hydraulic technology, using water to sustain life, produce food, build, and transport. The monumental water system, prehistoric ecological engineering? Researchers found traces of a 32-kilometer canal network linking quarries, reservoirs, and the temple core. These canals were designed with reverse flow principles, embanked on both sides, faced with stone to prevent erosion, and routed through transfer stations. Meaning, they didn't just dig ditches, they engineered a hydraulic ecosystem. Water was stored in enormous basins like the East and West Barai, each more than 7 to 8 kilometers long and nearly 4 meters deep, comparable to a mid-sized hydro facility today. This allowed seasonal regulation, flow diversion, drought resistance, soil cooling, irrigation, and even stone cooling during the erection of large structures. Could the Khmer have devised this solely through natural observation? Or did they inherit an existing system and simply learn to operate it? No houses, no markets, only temples and technical works. Curiously, despite identifying thousands of foundations, archaeologists found no domestic housing, no markets, none of the usual traces of daily life such as hearths, implements, or kilns. Instead, they found temples, stone statues, divine effigies, long galleries, stairways, retaining walls for water, structures for ritual, flow control, and rooting. If a city housed 700,000 to 1,000 inhabitants based on LiDAR mapping, where did they all go? And why did they leave so few traces? Was this a ceremonial city visited only on feast days? Or more precisely, a city of different masters, not Khmer, into which the Khmer later moved? A vanishing without scars, as if someone withdrew overnight. Unlike many ancient cities, destroyed by war, volcanoes, or plague, Angkor shows no signs of widespread violence, burning, or sudden burial. It was simply abandoned. The reasons remain unclear. Some argue that religious shifts from Hinduism to Buddhism caused neglect. Others claim the water system collapsed, making life unsustainable. But these explanations feel insufficient. A city that once served 1 million people does not dissipate like smoke, unless something unusual happened, or a hand deliberately erased it from collective memory. Buried by jungle, or buried by an adjusted memory? Perhaps Angkor is not hidden by forest, but by human consciousness. What we cannot understand we call myth. What we cannot recreate we call coincidence. What we cannot attribute we assign to the nearest king. But truth does not vanish. It remains, beneath moss-clad stones, in dry canal beds, in the silent eyes of apsaras dancing in the void. The truth that Angkor Wat is only a gate, and beyond that gate lies a lost civilization. And perhaps, if one day that truth is unearthed, human history will have to be written anew. Now, as our journey nears its end, you may no longer see Angkor Wat merely as a spot on a tourist map or a religious ruin of the ancient Khmer. You may see it as a challenge to modern historiography, a whisper from the past to the future, an invitation to step beyond the boundaries of what is acceptable. We have passed through 5 masks, 5 realities. An architecture ahead of its time, defying technical definitions. An ambiguous patron, a monument without a commensurate name to claim it. Small details. A telescope, a 4-tusked elephant, a solar system model, hinting at knowledge never taught in any school. A quiet global web, ley lines threading the planet, linking Angkor Wat with wonders thousands of kilometers away. And finally, a vast pre-industrial city, veiled by jungle and edited out by history. But you know what? Perhaps the most unsettling thing is not that Angkor Wat is too large, too perfect, or too mysterious. The most unsettling thing is that we have stood before it too long without truly seeing. We pass it as a tourist stop. We swipe past it as a wallpaper. We read it as a textbook excerpt, then close the page without ever doubting. What those stones are telling us is not in the syllabus. They are asking, do you truly believe you are the first civilization? Are you sure you understand this earth? And if a body of knowledge once existed, greater, subtler, nobler, would you welcome it or reject it? No one can answer that for you. At World of Ancient Mysteries, we make no claims. We do only one thing. We restore the questions you may have overlooked. Questions that, if you dare face them, reveal another current of history, deeper, truer, and harder to swallow. Angkor Wat, like the pyramids, Stonehenge, or Nazca, is not a period. It is a question mark. And from such question marks, we can begin a larger journey, a return to humanity's memory, where nothing has yet been rewritten, where truth still lies intact beneath layers of stone, time, and doubt. If you, like us, feel that this world holds more than meets the eye, then stay with World of Ancient Mysteries. This is only the beginning, and perhaps you, more than anyone, will be the one to open the next door.